Hi, this is FLN 10, and in this FLN and in this assignment, we are going to approximate pi. The first known recorded measurement of pi was by the Babylonians, and in one of their tablets, they approximated it as 3.12, which is pretty close. The ancient Egyptians also used pi, but they approximated it as 3.55, which is not as close. It's kind of amazing to think about the Babylonians because they were just inventing iron back then, and the woolly mammoths were going extinct, but they could get a very close approximation of pi. So we also are going to try and get a close approximation of pi. I want you guys to go around your house and find 8 circular objects. They can be a cup, they can be lids, they can be the inside or the outside of a tape, a yo-yo, a cylinder. I'm sorry, this is a cylinder. Here's the circle on the cylinder, or a lid. Once you have all 8 of your objects, then I will have you measure them. Next is the measurement part. Now, from our nets, you guys should have had something to measure your nets already. But let's say you don't have a ruler. You can always print a ruler. Or if you have a tape measure at home, those are useful. This square is not going to be that useful. It's hard to measure circles with this square. But here, these are all examples of things you might have in your house to measure your circles. Okay, once you have decided on your measurement device, your measurement tool, I should say, let's say you don't even have that. You can also use a piece of string and a Lego, okay? So I can create my own measuring tool here by marking along this each Lego 4x4, okay? Now I've made a very rudimentary measuring device. And since we are going to be taking the ratio of the diameter to the circumference to the diameter, I should say, it doesn't matter exactly what units you use because I'm going to divide them out and the units will disappear, right? Because pi does not have units, it is a constant. So this also can be used to measure the outside of your circle. Once you've decided on what you are going to use to measure, I want you to measure here. It's much easier to use it in millimeters. Measure the diameter here and also measure the circumference. And be creative on how you measure the circumference. One way is to roll this up here like this and make note of that distance. Another way is to put a line on whatever you're measuring. Start your line here. For this, the line one, I'm going to use the printed ruler that I have online. Start your point here. Here, I'll turn it this way so you guys can see it. Okay? And then roll it. Roll my circle all the way and make note where that line crosses. So that is the circumference of the outside of your circle. Again, if you use something like this, you can take the outside of the circle and use this to go around the entire outside of the circle. Sometimes it's hard to measure circumference, so I'd really like you guys to kind of play with this and be creative, okay? Again, if you do not have a ruler or another way, you can also use graph paper. I can put my circle on the graph paper and then measure here. I will get the diameter. It's probably better if you line it up really nicely so that you get a very clean measurement. And then count the diameter here, right? That goes across. And then again, here I can make a mark on whatever I'm using as a circle, line it up here with the line, and then roll it here. And then you can approximate how many squares. Again, since pi is a very specific number, when you count these, you can say this is a 0.8 of a square. Okay. Once you've measured it, I'd like you guys to enter in the table that's attached to this FLN. So here's the circumference and here's the diameter. Make sure the units are matching and then divide the circumference by the diameter to calculate pi. I'd like it for all 8 objects, and then you get a total here. Then take this total and divide it by 8, that's the number of object, and we're going to get an average. And that's the average pi you have measured and calculated. After that, The next part is I'd like you to take those measurements and enter it into the sheet, the spreadsheet that I've also attached to this assignment. I'd like you guys to get used to using spreadsheets to do calculations, especially when it's the same calculation over and over again. That is what a spreadsheet, a spreadsheet really shines. So in here, enter your circumference, enter your diameter, and the formula is already there that it'll just divide circumference by diameter. It'll also take the average. I'd like you guys to compare this sheet to the table that you did to check your work. So that's what we're going to do. Please have fun with this. Go out and try different ways of measuring it. Try to be as precise as you want. This is a laser measure that you point at something and it waits for the reflection, how long it takes for the reflection comes back, and it tells you how far away something is. 6 feet 1 inch. So if you're doing something really big, like maybe a circular pond in your yard, you could use a laser measure device or one of these really long tape measures to go around the outside of your pond. Go ahead and try many different sizes of circle, but always knowing that any circle, once you divide the circumference of that circle by the diameter, you should get pi, 3.141592, on and on and on. So that's the amazing thing about circles and about pi, is that any circle, doesn't matter how big or how small, once you divide the circumference by the diameter, you get pi.